seems like everybody is on the road or rolling today. You know, business as usual. All right. Well, thank you all so much. I want to respect your time. Thank you all so much for joining us for this week's Glad You Asked. As you all know, we have gone to every 2 weeks, so it's bi-weekly now. Which is a good thing because next week is Thanksgiving. So I don't think we want to get on. We want to honor you and your families. So no Glad You Asked next week, of course. So we'll be back the week after Thanksgiving with another session of Glad You Asked. So for today's topics, what are we talking about today? We're talking about working with your lender as a buyer's agent, working with your buyer's lender. We're also going to talk about scenarios where potentially an agent may wish to give back or credit a portion of their commission to their client. So we'll discuss that. And what else are we discussing? Oh, Tiffany and Mary have wonderful ideas. Love them. I tell y'all, if it wasn't for them, I don't know what I'd do. So they have a great idea for something for the holidays. So I will let them speak to that when we get to that portion. All right. So any questions you all have, please, please, please remember those, write them down, bring them up after we get through going through today's topics. So I definitely want to talk about working with your buyer's lender. We've had some scenarios where the buyer did not know that they could not give for due diligence or any monies for the contract. Unsourced funds. I know we're all busy, but does anybody know what unsourced funds mean? What is that?
And something that's not trackable from a legitimate or approved source. Like they can't get money from a friend.
There you go. There you go, Tim. So is money from an untraceable source, or like I like to call it mattress money. You know, the money hiding your mattress, want nobody to find it. So we got to be very careful. Well, I'll say we won't have to be very careful. Our lenders, we have to make sure our lenders are educating their client as well, because the lender's client is our client. We got to make sure that we are encouraging our buyers to talk to their lenders, especially when it comes to where are they getting this money from. So we had this happen with an agent. The buyer just saves money at home and keeps it in a safe and had saved up quite a bit. And so for their due diligence fee, they used the money that came out of that safe. Well, guess what? It was untraceable. And at the end of the day, at closing, the lender could not source the funds. So the lender could not put that on the closing disclosure. So that was an issue, because here's what we worked out. We were able to work it out to where the seller agreed to refund that or give it back after closing. So once they receive their proceeds, they will write a check to the buyer. Now, suppose the seller said, nope, I'm not doing it. That buyer would be short, wouldn't they? They would be out of some funds. So we were able to work it out. So make sure when you're dealing with your buyers, just have them really have a good conversation with their lender. And lenders should be doing their job as well and telling these buyers any money that they give in connection with this with the transaction needs to be from source funds. Tim, I saw you came off mute. Did you have something you wanted to add or ask?
No, I was just trying to make sure I wasn't disruptive.
No, okay. No, you're fine. You're perfectly fine. So the thing is, and of course, it's going to depend on what type of loan it is as well, because FHA and USDA and VA have different requirements. So I know conventional may have looser guidelines than these government loans. So just keep that in mind. if you hear buzzwords, if you hear your buyer say, oh yeah, I got a savings account, or I'm going to pull it from here or pull it from there or get it from someone, that should be a flag when we hear things like that, to make sure we have them talk to their lender to make sure it's okay. Any questions about that? Okay. All right. Well, if not, moving on to the next one. And what is that? Agent commissions. So I've had this happen several times in the past, probably month or so, where agents are giving or wanting to contribute a portion of their commission to the transaction, to one of their clients in the transaction. Maybe in a scenario where there are repairs that the seller is saying, I don't want to make those. And the buyer is saying, well, there is your property still. You should be making these repairs. And so in order to get the deal done, the agent may say, okay, well, it's only $1,500. I'm willing to give a portion of that for my commission. What happens in situations like that? Typically, the easiest way to make that happen is I'll have to write a letter allowing and giving permission for the agent to be able to give those funds to that client. Now, it's going to be different if the agent is representing the seller. As a listing agent, that letter will have to be written to the attorney. So I'll have to put it on letterhead in the proper verbiage. And that's another thing. If that happens, I need the correct verbiage from the attorney, because I don't want to write anything that's going to be contradictory or illegal. So I would need in that situation the correct verbiage from the attorney and provide that letter to the attorney. Now, on the buyer side, if you represent the buyer and you're contributing funds to the buyer, you definitely have to ask the lender if they're getting a loan. Ask the lender if it will be allowed, because there have been cases where a buyer's agent was going to contribute funds or allow a portion of the commission to go back to the buyer as a credit, but it was going to be over the amount that the lender would allow. So in the case, if you're representing the buyer and funds will be credited to the buyer, you got to check with the lender to make sure it's okay. The lender will need a letter from me, and it will need to go to the lender as well as to the attorney. Okay. So I know you guys are out there wheeling and dealing and making things happen, and we so thank you for it. So as you're doing that, I know there could be situations where you want to contribute funds. Just make sure we do it the right way. Any questions or comments?
Kind of related. So
Okay.
what if, so I have, you all know I'm a contractor, so I have my connections and my vendors that I use. Well, one of the things I did recently was I kind of gifted an home inspection for one of my clients, because they were unintelligent and assuming they had no closing costs to pay because they were 100% loan. I'm like, no. But anyway, so I paid for their inspection out of my pocket. So it was outside of the deal, outside of the contract. It shouldn't be a problem, but is it?
Right. So you said something there, Tim. You said it happened outside of the closing. Exactly. So
I think you might have lost us, or I lost you one.
I think she lost us.
Yeah, might be. We'll give her a minute. Teresa. Houston, we got a problem.
All right.
Now you're back.
Obviously,
You're
can't see me or
back.
hear me. I'm back. I'm back.
Woo!
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
missed
All right.
everything you said though.
You missed everything I said. Well, Tim, I like to talk sometimes, so I don't mind
Yeah,
saying
well.
it again. Okay. So in Tim's case, the operative words that Tim said was it happened outside of closing, which means it was paid for outside of closing. So even if Tim did not pay for the inspection, the buyer would have paid for the inspection outside of closing, which
Right.
says that that's okay because it was handled outside of closing. So that's something that I've done for a paid for pest inspection, used it as a business expense for my own, my own business and just wrote it off. But yes, because it was handled outside of closing. So in that situation, that's a little different and can be handled that way. Thank you for asking that, bringing that up, Tim. Anybody else?
Figured it'd be okay, but what happens when you assume?
Right, exactly. Yes, we know that word. Yes, we know what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Anybody else? Any questions, comments about the
Gotta love technology.
I want you to touch on about
Okay.
lenders and such.
Okay.
Making sure the buyers are.
Can you hear us? Are we here? Can you hear? Let's get another
Yep.
bad spot. Are we back?
You're back.
Okay. There you go.
All right, so just making sure that your buyers are prepared for the lender to do a final re-verification check, either the day before or the day of closing, and make sure those buyers know not to go open any new credit accounts and don't do anything that would impact their credit score, because that could stop them from being able to be successful in their transaction at the last minute.
Yep.
So just a couple of reminders when you're dealing with buyers and lenders. It's just important that you are communicating with your buyer, even though you don't have to deal with the specifics in the transaction, to make sure that they know and look out for those kinds of flags. If the buyer changes jobs in the middle of the transaction, they have to notify that lender. That's something that does require lender notification. It does not mean that the transaction will be stopped. The lender just needs to know about the change and know what the new compensation is going to be for that buyer.
Yeah.
So these are things to just be aware of and prepare your clients when you are in a transaction, in the midst of a transaction, and there is a change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's very good. That's a very good point Tiffany brought up, the additional verification of employment. Because there are cases where a buyer has been employed at the beginning of the transaction and something happens, they lose their job, they're laid off, and they cannot get another job before, or do not get another job before the closing. And guess what? When that lender goes back to do a verification of employment, that could blow or will blow the entire deal. So very good point that Tiffany made. Letting your buyers know if there's any type of financial change at all, they need to let their lender know. And good point about going to obtain credit. Even having your buyer going, maybe they don't buy the furniture, but they go get the credit card. They go get the credit card. Their social security number is used. That's a flag for a lender. They will be notified. They will find it. They'll see it, and it could negatively affect the deal. So the lender definitely should be educating their because our buyer client is their client as well. So they should be educating their client. But just in case, we want to make sure that although that's not our official lane, it's good to be educated ourselves so we can make sure we're pointing out things that our buyers shouldn't do or should notify the lender of. All right, very good. One other thing that, again, I'm gonna let Mary and Tiffany speak to this. They have this wonderful idea. I absolutely love it, and I want them for the holidays. I absolutely love this. You're the first to know because this has not been announced to the market center, but it will. So, Mary, you want to
Sure.
speak to this?
We have a need anytime,
Who was us?
behind the Hillsborough office.
Okay,
And there's
Any-
one behind Burlington.
and the
too.
Burlington.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to that.
Okay, you got it. Mary. Go ahead, Mary.
So every time I drive through this neighborhood, it drives me crazy because all I see is EXP, Allen Tate, everybody but Keller Williams.
Even
and
Zillow.
Even Zillow. So we are going to Christmas Carol. We're gonna make up goodie bags and with our business cards in them. And we are going to Christmas Carol about 2 weeks before Christmas and get the word out about Keller Williams, bring some Christmas cheer and just meet and greet and get out there. And we want to challenge Burlington to do the same in a neighborhood. Tiffany's already selected a neighborhood right behind your office. And we want to challenge you all to get out and do the same thing in your neighborhoods. And so we'll be giving you all the details so we can coordinate this whole thing. And we think this is just a great way to spread some Christmas love in this crazy world of ours at Christmas time. That's it.
I love it. I love it. I love that. I love the fact that everybody is concerned about their market center and how, especially in Alamance County, we're the largest in Alamance County. And I'll venture to say we're probably the largest in Hillsborough as well. And here's the thing, we need to get more market share, especially in the Hillsborough area. So we definitely have it in Alamance County and we want to get more of it in Orange County as well, in the Hillsborough area. So I love this idea. So we're going to give more details, send out more details about it, and we would love for you all to participate in that. Any questions about that? I don't know that I can answer them, but I'll let Tiffany and Mary do the answering. Okay. All right. Well, if not, yeah, well, crickets are okay. All right, Susie, Tim, and Mary, anything that you can think of, or any questions or any situations, issues that you dealt with, and maybe you didn't have the time to call the big hotline or talk to me or talk to Tiffany. Any questions or issues?
I do have one.
Yes, ma'am.
So I told you a little bit about an offer that I was getting ready to make. It was 50,000 due diligence, 35 over asking. No, the appraisal would be paid if it was low, no due diligence period or repairs requested. So we did not get it.
Wow.
Oh my God.
The
Wow.
thing that
Crazy.
the thing that got me the
Right.
most was that I could look it up in the Triangle MLS, and the buyer's agent was the listing agent, and that just worried me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. That does bring a flag, right?
Can't hear you.
Definitely a flag. Definitely a flag. And here's the
Yeah.
interesting, yeah, that's a flag, but what can we do,
I know.
about that?
Exactly. That's and I wondered, Teresa, my main, I guess, partial question was, I normally put in my email the summary for the agent to see. And then I thought, man, I mean, she could have, I know you're not supposed to, but certainly it must happen. And then I even wondered if they had their BIC presented. I mean, they said there were And the
Yeah.
thing is, their due diligence date was the same, I mean, their closing date was the same as ours and their no due diligence period. And then that listing agent was the buyer's agent. And that just, that reinforces the fact that I never represent both sides. I think it's not fair. And I also think it sends up unnecessary flags about the whole situation.
It does. And you're absolutely right, Mary. It does send up flags, unnecessary. But you know, that is a flag. And I always attempt to and try to see the glass half full,
Mhm.
to say, well, maybe they did do it right. You know, maybe they do have an office policy similar to
Right.
ours. It presents it. It's hard to say, you know?
Yeah.
Now, Mary,
Yeah.
there's nothing saying that you can't ask a couple of questions.
right.
You could ask,
Mhm.
what could your sellers have done to be successful?
Mhm.
You know, if there was something, I mean, excuse me, your buyers,
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
you could ask. They don't have to provide feedback, but
Right.
there's nothing saying that you can't ask.
That's right.
Mhm.
And you could ask how the presentations were made. You know, did they have a separate party to present, since it was the same agent? So those are questions that you can ask
Mhm. Mhm.
if you do
Okay.
want to know, or if your clients want to know more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No guarantee you'll get an answer, but you can
Right.
ask.
You can at least
Well, it
Yeah, you
wasn't
can-
Keller Williams. It was out of Keller Williams United. So hopefully they went by the rules. I don't know.
Right,
yeah,
right, exactly.
hopefully so,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly. And I'll tell you, I had a situation where that happened, made a strong offer on behalf of my buyers. I mean, strong. And here's the thing, I found out after the fact, after it went under contract, there was only two offers, my buyer's offer and another offer. The listing agent did tell me this. Listing agent did say, Teresa, your buyer's offer was the strongest, but they accepted the other because they knew them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They knew the buyer. So, okay. And you know, so there are so many scenarios,
Right.
and why they could have accepted that. But again, you know, hoping that it was done fairly and done right. We can
Yeah.
only hope. Yep.
Right. Well,
I
would
know.
it be better not to put the summary in the email?
When
I mean,
you-
if
So,
the agent, you know, if the agent was passing it along to the BIC as would be appropriate, she would already
Mhm.
have seen the summary in her email.
Right, right.
I think the summary is fine. I
Yeah,
don't think that
yeah,
that you should stop doing it.
yeah.
Okay.
Because that's known anyway, right?
Mhm.
Because the offer is sent, summaries there, so no problem with that, definitely.
But then she gets an offer in, or she's helping a buyer. So she already knows what ours was, or probably any of
Right.
the other ones.
Yeah,
What are
yeah.
you saying, Cindy? Oh,
Can't
you're
hear you,
muted.
Cindy.
You're muted. Can you unmute?
Can't hear you.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm at home and I just finished another Zoom. So, and I haven't been on these before. Oh my God. So to me, as a listing
Thank you
agent,
for joining.
you're welcome. So I love it that y'all are in the car, and I love Teresa's hat.
Yeah.
Of course, she is so fashionista. Oh my God, she makes me just feel like whatever. So to me, as a listing agent, if she's already seen one offer, she better not be writing another offer. I'm sorry.
Mhm. Yeah,
If I got an offer and I saw it, I can't represent a buyer. So if
exactly. Yeah.
she should have said, do not send me any offers, they go straight to the BIC, honestly, if that's
Right.
going to happen. I mean, that's why I always sign designated agency, but everybody does their business differently, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the thing, you know. Well, I'm hoping that the office policy, their whatever office it is, or their firm policy is similar to ours, but we don't know, right? And that's the
No.
part.
No.
Yeah.
It really just,
Yep.
it was a bad feeling to see that the list agent was the buyer's agent.
Woo, honey, I'd be pissed.
I'm really
Yep.
pissed.
Oh, I'd be,
Exactly.
honey. Well,
Yeah.
well, Mary,
Exactly.
is that the one for your son, your daughter?
Yes, yes.
Oh, so
Oh,
that's even more
Yeah.
emotional. That's even
That's
more
Yeah.
emotional.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
Cindy, I thought it wasn't cash because it had the same closing date as we had, 29 days away. So it wasn't cash. And so that worried me as well. So I better see a high cost on that one.
Yeah. But there can be
All
many.
I got to say
Did you-
is maybe,
Yeah.
maybe you're getting protected because I lost an offer and then another house in the same neighborhood came up. It's a seamless, beautiful transaction. And I just thought, thank you, God. I mean, you know, maybe you're just
Yeah.
being protected with this one.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't, and you know, we don't really know all of the details. So we can speculate and assume, but not having all of the details and knowing, you know, the
Right.
backstory or how it actually happened.
Sure.
It's kind of hard to do. Yep. Although it is frustrating.
The only other thing would be is if she had a variable commission.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
If I bring you a buyer, I'll reduce it to 4 or whatever. And that
Exactly.
was not given the information. That would be the only thing.
Yeah.
Have you,
Yeah.
I mean,
Or
that was back in the day.
And a higher
Yeah.
offer.
Yeah. So many scenarios. Like Tiffany said, it could have been a higher offer. We don't know. It's really so hard to say, right?
Especially in that area. Yeah, it's a real,
Yeah.
because Mary called me.
And
That's why I know about it. Because, you know,
Yeah.
Mary called me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
They
That's
said
a good one.
said there were 32 offers, but then to see the list agent get the offer, that's what got me.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
see, I'd be asking, can I speak to your Beck?
That's what I wanted to do. And then I thought, boy, if I churn up all that, then they probably won't ever accept my offers.
Well,
Yeah.
but that is kind of crazy that 32 offers and the listing agent. Did you send it to her? Or did you send it to her, the Beck?
I sent it to her.
See, that something doesn't sound right.
I know, me too. That's my
Okay.
feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, goes back to good old United States, the burden of proof.
I
know.
know. That's why I'm just sitting on it, but I had to complain.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you go
know.
right ahead.
Yeah, it's good to vent it out into Mary.
Yeah. And we understand this is a tough market for buyers.
Mhm.
And so want you to know that there's nothing saying you cannot ask questions,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
we don't know that, you know, you'll get the answers that you
Mhm.
desire. And
Mhm.
ultimately, it's the seller's decision.
It's the
Even if
decision.
it's not a better offer, the seller could choose
Right.
a lesser offer if they so decide.
Yeah.
And so that's
Right.
the thing to keep in mind as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's correct.
Good one.
Yeah,
Yep,
I
that's
mean,
a
it's
good
it's
one.
the sellers. It's just hard to stomach when you've done your best, and it's hard for buyers agents right now. I feel for them.
It is.
I really do.
Yes.
Pretty
Yes.
terrible.
It's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough. That was a good one, Mary. Thank you for bringing that up and talking about that one. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other issues? Or any other questions? Maybe not any issues.
So I have a question.
Okay. Ask away.
You know, I get a lot of people that reach out to me just
Mhm.
because me, you know. So I had an agent say today, I wrote an offer and they're not doing earnest money. Do we really have to do due diligence date? Because they're not going to do anything. It's an as is. And I said, and I, you know, because I'm so busy all the time, but I'm like, does the due diligence date really cover for the appraisal?
What when you say does it
So
cover?
if you didn't have a due diligence date and it didn't appraise,
Mhm.
they still, I mean, there's negotiation is during due diligence time period. If they decide they don't want it, but they can back out at any time if they don't have earnest money.
Exactly.
Penalty.
Exactly.
There's nothing to protect if there's no earnest money.
So
Keep in mind,
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say you can. You know, one other thing you can do is you can negotiate beyond due diligence.
I was gonna
also.
say you can negotiate up to the day of closing. Right.
I know. So you don't really need a due diligence date if you don't have the earnest money,
Mm-mm.
unless you waive the inspection period. Like I wrote an offer for my brother that just closed last week. We said, we're not going to ask for any repairs. We're not going
Right.
to ask. We waive appraisal. We did everything right because they wanted it that bad. And I wrote
That's
a
what I
really high
did.
due diligence.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but everybody does that. If you're really good, you do that, and then you win the offer, right?
Right.
Sometimes
Yep.
that's what
Yeah.
I did. And I didn't get it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
I don't
know.
even use earnest money anymore, period. Just DD money, and they can
Wha-
still have an inspection period, but you're right, if there's no inspection period and you're waiving repairs and appraisal doesn't even matter because you're still gonna close or not. They can walk if they want, but I take all DD money. I get as high a DD as I can, and I don't care about earnest money because it doesn't have any value to anybody anymore. I think it needs to go away personally.
Well, that
Well,
goes,
wait a minute. I
That's-
disagree.
yeah.
Tell me
and
why. Good.
market we're in as well. Market determines which one you're going to use
If
first.
you get,
True.
let's say I get 5 DD and 5 earnest money,
Okay.
oh, that due diligence date comes into play. Like,
Yeah,
are you going, because if they back out or after the due diligence date and they back out and terminate, that $5,000 goes to the firm and to the seller. So right, correct?
Yeah.
Earnest
Part of
money.
the DD, I mean, part of the earnest money goes to the firm.
Right.
And that's
does
where
it
somebody-
really?
Yes,
Okay,
it
I didn't
does.
know that.
I know, because you didn't read the contract.
Yep. Reach your agency agreements.
It says it.
Ah,
So, but it protects you from those people. And case in point, these investor cash offers with low due diligence and back out the day of closing. Well, if you have earnest money, you're protecting your seller. I'm just throwing that out there because I've been getting more due diligence and earnest money instead of all this high due diligence. Well, if they terminate right before closing, what does that do? Yes, they keep the due diligence money, but there could be other factors. I mean, you just got to look at everything. Don't think it's all about DD money, guys. Okay. I've been doing this a long
Interesting.
time.
yeah, I'm glad I asked that because that was my opinion.
Mm-mm.
Now
I
it
gotta
depends
think.
on the market. Yeah.
Yeah, I
know,
mean,
uh,
right now in this market,
Right.
I mean, tell me I'm wrong, but I don't know how earnest money, if earnest money is involved, would it not be strictly applied to an inspection period,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
is there a point to both? So this is interesting. So I'm selling my son's property. I'm disclosed as his relation, but I got an interesting offer that was 2,000 earnest and 5,000 DD on the day after the 2-week inspection period,
Okay.
No,
right?
nope.
So that was unique, I thought.
So
In that case, you would kind of take that, but there was an inspection period involved.
Well, he's saying that they would pay it after they
Oh,
finish their inspections.
after
Right.
the inspections.
The day after the inspection period expired, the other 5,000 was due.
But is that additional earnest money? Because there's no other
Yes.
way to put the due diligence. So that's additional earnest money, no due diligence money.
Correct.
Okay, that's
I was-
different.
Yeah, you might be right. That might be a little detail. I'll have to double check that.
You need to,
Uh-huh.
yes,
Additional, I'm pretty sure it said additional earnest money,
it does.
but still at that point, it's immediately committed. So tell me I'm wrong.
That they are committed, correct. But they
Right.
can back out and your seller has wasted 2 weeks and got no money.
Well,
Yeah.
if they balk after the inspection period and the additional earnest money becomes committed, they don't get it back if they leave at that point.
Correct.
So there was $2,000 earnest, and yeah, so you're right. If they
They
walk,
don't have
there's
anything.
yeah. So there's $0 if they
Yeah.
walk.
Mhm.
They won't
Ah,
before.
so that was, I'm glad we didn't take that offer anyway, but it was just interesting. So that's a good point. I'll have to look carefully at that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's so many scenarios with the way our forms are written, right? so many
Yeah.
ways to structure an offer and structure it. So you really gotta read your contract, know your contracts, and know how to use the initial earnest money and additional. And it
Yeah.
really depends on. So it's going to be different when it becomes a buyer's market. Nobody's going to be giving diligence at that point.
Yeah, then it'll
Nope.
be earnest money and
Gonna-
no due diligence.
And
Interesting.
you know, will it change like next year? No, but we're talking a couple of years. It will change.
Yeah, it will change.
It may be a buyer's market like it is a seller's market now. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean,
Well,
I mean,
it'll come back around to a buyer's market at some point because it just has
Oh,
to.
but you know
Absolutely.
what? North Carolina is in such a unique position with so many people moving here. I can't see until we get more new construction to catch up. They can't keep up now. So with where we are, I don't see it turning into a buyer's market because of who's coming here and what they're doing, our infrastructure and the businesses that are coming here. I just don't see it. We're not a depressed area.
Right.
I mean, I've been a terrible buyer's market. And, you know, it was over a year or more. We took listings for a year. Okay. So,
Yeah.
and that was 2010 and 2011 after I mean, y'all, I tried to sell a house and I couldn't even sell my own house. I sucked. Like I wanted to fire myself and give it to somebody else. Oh my God. I had to do a lease with option of purchase. And so, you know, there's lots of different things, but I'm getting off. But still, the buyer's market, I think it's going to be in 3 to 5 years. It's going to be far in advance.
Well, and you know, Tiffany and I, Cindy, Tiffany and I were just thinking the same things. It's interesting. Interest rates will play a huge part in where this market goes.
Yeah.
They're still going to be low. Are they going to be 1.99% low or 2.82%? Are they going to be 3%? We don't know. They're going to go up. I'm hearing lenders say they're going up. How much up? We
It
don't
won't
know.
go that much, but we're always going to show houses. We're going to sell houses. They can't afford as much. Then we'll see a little bit dip and then it'll start back up again. I mean, I sold when it was 10%. I mean, people still buy houses because they move and they have to. You won't see this sell after 2 years. They're going to keep it for 5 to 7. So, you know, you're seeing a lot of people sell it from 2018, 2019 and making a boatload of money, you know,
Yes.
$40,000-$50,000 and get into their next house. They're not going to be moving anytime soon. Those people are going to be sitting. Then, I
Right.
mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, it's cyclical,
Yeah.
but you're right. But the Fed, then if they rise it too high, it'll stop everything.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they know what they're doing. They're going to be strategic.
Yeah, it
But
is. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting where it goes from here.
Yes, and I think all we can do is remember that if you want to be an agent of the future, make sure you treat everybody with respect and kindness, because these agents that have this bug that they can do everything, you need to be very careful, because when it changes, people remember how you treated somebody.
Absolutely. You are absolutely right, Cindy.
I mean, hear some of these horror stories with agents that don't answer their phones and get what? If you don't answer your phone, I still answer my phone. I don't care. Like I answer my phone all the time. And some of these agents will really need to check themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting on my high horse. Oh my Lord.
Oh, you're fine, Cindy. You
Where
are
are
fine.
y'all? Y'all at the office?
No, yeah, we're in Hillsborough now. We were at the Durham Regional luncheon and induction of the officers this year.
Cool.
We're members 3, so we try to support all 3.
Yeah, so all 3. Well, we appreciate that. I've got to go to another meeting. It was great.
Yes, thank you for joining, Cindy. And thank you for joining.
Okay.
And to everyone
Now.
else.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Just one last thing as a reminder, we talked about diversity and the training. So we sent out an email and maybe Big Bite probably a couple weeks ago or so, where we want you all to get a jump on the diversity training. There was one in November. There is one coming up in December, the December 8th, The Color of Real Estate, I believe it's called. Oh, I'm sorry, Unconscious Bias is coming up December 8th, and that's taught by the KWRI cultural ambassador. What's her name? Julia Lachey Israel. She will be teaching that. So next year, we think we're going to add it to our policies to make it mandatory. So we want to make sure we are in compliance with NAR rules, state, national rules, and state rules. So be on the lookout for that.